During the last few years, we've ventured into a lot of different fields, and we've had the opportunity to meet and work with a lot of wonderful people. I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Congratulations, Mr. Mickey Mouse. Congratulations to you.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Walt Daily. This is episode 78. And for those who don't know us by now, we're a Disney couple. One of us is a Disney fanatic, one of us is Disney challenged, but somehow we've made a way to make this relationship work.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Good. I just want to point out, when you did that introduction, you raised your hand into the air and then pulled it down in a power fist.
Yeah. I felt like I was coordinating an orchestra of one.
Well, how did I do?
No, it was me. I was coordinating myself.
Oh, okay. Because I thought you were the conductor and you had to conduct the other people.
No, I was conducting an orchestra solo.
Oh, well.
Conductor and performer.
Good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, headlines?
Okay. All right. My first headline, there is a new ticket option at Walt Disney World. It's called the Midday Magic Ticket.
Okay.
What is it, you may ask?
Is it after 12?
It is after 12.
That's smart. That's what ski places do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, anyways, they're doing it at Disney too.
Cool.
So the option is you can have either a 2, 3, or 4, well, 1, 2, 3, or 4 day ticket option. You can add Park Hopper to it if you'd like. You will enter the park after 12, and it's going to be for the fall. So the tickets are valid through December 15th. And, oh, I'm sorry, they're not available as 1 day tickets. They're available as 2, 3, and 4 day tickets. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so smart, especially depending on the park that you choose. You might want to sleep in and then go to the park at noon, and then you can stay there if the park's open until like midnight, which happens sometimes.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. Yeah. And the price will come down if you get a 4 day ticket to $79 a day. So if you get the 4 day ticket option, then it's obviously each per day is cheaper, but it comes to $79. I just thought it was like an interesting comparison since like a 1 day ticket is well over $100 at this point.
Yeah.
So get some savings there.
That's awesome.
And sleeping in. All right, my next headline. And this one, I really want to get your take on. So
I don't like it.
No?
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Okay, already? It's not really like I like it or I don't like it type of headline. A guest is suing Disney World, which is nothing new, but it's the story that they say of why they're suing it, or why they're suing the company. So the guest claims that she was injured 2 years ago when boarding Space Mountain in Walt Disney World. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the way the Space Mountain cars are in Disney World, you have to step down into a seat and kind of slide your feet forward. It's basically kind of like if you were to sit on the floor, for instance. It's very low to the ground, or at least it feels that way. And then you put the lap bar on top. So the guest claims that the lap bar was locked down so that when she got into the car, she hurt herself. And she's seeking $15,000 in damages.
Wow.
This happened 2 years ago, she claims.
Yeah. It's interesting. Not a huge fan of that.
Of what part?
Well, I mean, unless you don't... The thing that sucks, first of all, we don't know a lot about this.
No, we don't.
So if something happened where she fell and there's like some long-standing damage that like she has financial hardship that's causing like financial hardships, like makes total sense. Mm-hmm. But if like she's just trying to get money, then obviously that sucks, you know. Mm-hmm. But it's also not a whole lot of money either. On the grand scheme of things, like it's not like she's like, because like if she was like, yeah, and another 100,000 for like my mental like PTSD of falling into a ride now. Like, I don't know. I feel like that gets excessive, but I mean, $15,000 is not a lot of money.
So you think it makes it almost seem more legit because it's actually not, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like you were saying, obviously $15,000 is nothing to sneeze about, but for a company like Disney, it's like nothing.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't want to say like it's not legit or more legit. It just looks worse if it's years after something happened, but I mean, there's no like, I don't know what the statute of limitations is for an injury that you may or may not have caused. But ideally, and who knows, like maybe she was like, doing physical therapy or something happened and they're like, hey, you could actually get paid for this. And then like, even though it's years down the line, she's like, man, you're right. Like I've really had a hard time paying for all this stuff and it wasn't even my fault. It was some stupid thing that Disney did. Then like, maybe that makes sense. Maybe you got to like go get your money because it's true. Like, they did something that caused you to fall and hurt yourself that you now have to pay damages for. That was a result of them, then it makes sense.
Well, I'm glad I did get your take because you're more level-headed than probably super fans.
Yeah.
Super fans would be like, I get injured all the time at Disney. I have shin splints.
Yeah.
Pretty
sure I've gotten injured there as well. I can't remember on what. But, it happens.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just...
It's definitely a drop in the bucket for Disney. I mean, it's not like they're going to be...
hurting.
Yeah, I mean, most of these very large companies have very large funds that are dedicated to these types of situations anyway. And people, and like, let's just say it was millions of dollars. Disney also has their own form of insurance that they could eventually, call.
True.
Be like, hey, some lady suing us for $3 billion.
$3 billion.
Like, we need to file a claim. So.
$3 billion.
Yeah.
I've never heard it called that.
Yeah, billion.
Thanks. All right, let's move on. Let's go to the. Let's
it's like
go to
a
our,
milli.
No, I get it, but
it's with a B because billion.
But I think maybe because what is it, Lil Wayne song popularized Millie.
That is 100. My heart feels so full that you brought that up because that is exactly true. Lil Wayne did make that popular. My favorite artist.
Yes.
So.
I'm happy. Well, it's partially due to my marriage to you. I know way too much about Lil Wayne. But let's move on.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and go to our last headline. And I'm excited that it is actually food and wine news. So Food and Wine is starting on August 29th, which is less than 2 weeks away at this point. It is coming up so quick and so fast, and it's going to be running for 87 days. But there are 2 additional booths that have been announced. The first one is going to be the Donut Box. And it is what it sounds like. It's going to have some specialty crafted donuts, some new takes on donuts that Disney chefs have concocted. And there's also going to be something called a donut ale. So an ale with a donut theme or incorporation to it. It sounds very heavy.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Hopefully on a cooler night, maybe I'll get a chance to enjoy it. Because it sounds like, I don't know if I want to be walking around in my stomach with that, but it does sound very interesting and probably going to try that at least once. And the next one is going to be called Cool Wash. And it's going to have different frozen beverages and slushy flavors. And it's going to be exactly what it sounds like, which is a cool, refreshing stop in the heat of Food and Wine Festival.
Cool.
And I believe they're going to have boba drinks, which sounds delicious.
Sounds good.
Yes. And just as a side note, also in this headline, more food and wine news in terms of the Eat to the Beat concert. A new act has been announced, and I want to say new, but he's old. He's from my generation. Joey Fatone will be performing at Food and Wine Festival.
Yeah, at Eat? You're going to say at Eat something?
At the Eat to the Beat concert.
That's funny.
At the Eat to the Beat concert for Food and Wine Festival from November 12th to the 14th. So, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And I hear Chris Kirkpatrick, who is also an NSYNC member, will also be joining him.
Yeah.
And one last person, Ryan Cabrera, will also be joining the 2 NSYNC members.
Nice. You know what I would like to see from Disney in terms of food and blank? I wish they could have like a week of like food and coffee.
Well,
That would be really freaking cool.
there's lots of specialty coffees that are served at Disney.
Like, but at all times or specifically, like I want similarly, you know, like, okay, this is how they drink coffee here. This is how they drink coffee here. Here's coffee from Nebraska.
Oh, I didn't realize you were okay.
Because that would be like a dedicated, similarly to Food and Wine, where it's just like, you know, all these different things from all these different regions and stuff. I want that for coffee.
An example I'm going to give you about how all year round there is a specialty Moroccan coffee that's offered in the Morocco Pavilion.
Okay, I've never heard about that. I've only heard about Joffrey's and Starbucks.
Well, when we go, if I were to say, Richie, do you want coffee? Yes. Do you want to go to try this Moroccan coffee? It's very exotic and delicious. Or do you want to go to Starbucks? What would you say?
I would say, how come you've never told me about the Moroccan coffee here that I've been here so many times?
And then you would say, but we're going to go to Starbucks.
No, I would
But
say,
it's just the principle.
does it have espresso?
I don't know how they actually make it.
All right, you see?
But
Well,
it's a-
there's
but it's
already reasons that you should have mentioned this before.
I'm sorry. Well,
Let's move on
okay,
before I
let's
get
move
too
on.
angry about this coffee situation.
I think you're having coffee withdrawal
I
rage
do need
right
coffee,
now.
actually.
So, speaking of nothing to do with coffee, let's go into our episode for today,
Let's do it.
which is going to be a kind of recap on things that I noticed, things that I've never noticed before about Disney World from my last trip.
Okay.
Which some of it's going to be coming from, if you were following my story on Instagram, some of it's kind of in the highlight reel from that. And it's just things that I really never noticed, even though I've been going there for my whole life. Like literally, I think my first trip was when I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
So
Do you remember that when you were 2?
I've seen a picture that my mom has, and I was wearing this adorable romper that I would love to have in an adult size today.
But you have no recollection, like no, even like a blimp of like the blink of an eye of some sort of memory from Disney at that age.
Do you know what happens? Sometimes I feel like once you reach a certain type of age where you try to start remembering things, you start to create your own memories that never actually happened. You know what I mean? Well, that doesn't happen in this situation. I don't have any memory of it.
I do wonder if, I always wonder about like testing things on kids' minds. Like if you told them the same thing, like about a memory every day from like a specific age, if they would always remember that. Because no one can remember most of what between the ages of 1 and 3, you likely don't remember stuff. But I wonder if like when you're at 2, if you say, hey, remember yesterday you did this, and every day you tell them that same thing, like about that one thing, if by the time they're like 15, they'll remember it.
Do you want to try that with our kid?
I might.
Why are you trying to run these scientific experiments on our child?
Because you know what I've heard, in terms of like how the mind works, is that a memory, that your mind actually never forgets any single experience or memory that you've had in your entire life. You just have a difficult ability to recall that memory. So I wonder if like you can play with that.
Well, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the wonderful movie Inside Out, which is literally a movie all about emotions and memories, and it kind of gives you a graphic representation about feelings and why some memories have to go away, just if for any reason, just to make room for new memories.
Maybe I should watch that movie.
You would really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about it. What
right.
did you notice?
All right, so let's start off with what I noticed, probably the first thing I noticed at the beginning of one of the days. So the 2 parks that I went to really quick, I went to Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. So when I went to Magic Kingdom, as you may or may not have heard or seen on news websites, on Instagram, the fall decorations are out, and the Halloween party's actually already started too. So along with the fall decorations are pumpkins. So there are pumpkins lined up all up and down Main Street USA, But the cool thing is that the pumpkins on top of any one building are actually themed to the facade of the building. So for instance, the Harmony Barbershop has a barbershop quartet of pumpkins that are on top of the building.
Cool.
So they have faces, mustaches. It's literally a barbershop quartet on top of the Harmony Barbershop. The Plaza Ice Cream has a pumpkin of a melted ice cream cone carved into the pumpkin. The Magic Shop, which is not actually a magic shop, but the House of Magic on the facade, it has a crystal ball. It has a wand with a sparkle. Again, themed exactly to what the building that it's on is. And I just thought, what a nice touch that probably goes so unnoticed.
That's pretty cool.
Yes. So I probably spent half of my morning on Main Street staring at the pumpkins.
Okay.
So, to keep with that though, go ahead.
Were those pumpkin-themed pumpkins only on Main Street? Or did you notice them like anywhere else?
From what I saw, they were only on Main Street.
Oh.
Yeah. To keep with the fall theme, on our last episode, I believe you said that something to the effect that it's way too soon for fall decorations.
Well, now it's fall, I think.
No, it's not. Fall's not for a little bit of time.
Isn't fall after
Echo.
summer?
When's the first day of fall?
In the United States, autumn begins on Monday, September 23rd, 2019.
So-
By the way, I can also answer the
Echo.
question.
Stop.
When-
She really wants to talk. She's so lonely.
Yeah.
But so fall isn't for well over a month from
Yeah,
now.
okay.
And I wanted to say that when I was on Main Street, I was sweating quite a bit. I felt like almost it was too soon for fall. And part of it is because school is just kind of starting here in South Florida. And kind of I don't know, with it just starting now, it still kind of feels like summer. Like in my head, like my internal clock is saying that something's wrong here. And also, even though people don't think it cools off during September and October in Florida, it actually does. And I think it's still a little bit too hot to feel like it's fall.
It's definitely way too hot. Especially in Miami, but even Orlando, I'm sure.
More
it's like
so in
really
Orlando,
hot.
I would say,
Yeah.
because there's not very many. The breezes are not as readily available.
I wonder when it's gonna when is it gonna stop in terms of the pushing forward of seasons? Because at some point it's like it's January, and like you're putting up pumpkins now. Like, at what point do you think that'll stop? Because I feel like it gets pushed forward. I'm sure, almost.
Or pushed back, you mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean.
well, so it's sooner. Like, no, it's pushed forward, right? Or pushed back. Oh, you're right. Okay, semantics.
Because you're wrong. Okay.
Well, but you're saying like when is too soon actually too soon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, when is it gonna stop?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how this is going to how you're going to feel about this, but at Cracker Barrel the other day, there was Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
Too soon?
Well, I don't know. I don't know about Cracker Barrel.
Well, anyways, I just want to wrap up this first kind of revelation with the fact that the good thing about having fall decorations already out is that more guests are able to see it. And I think that's fun.
Yeah. But what about the person that wanted to see whatever it was before that?
Like the classic.
Yeah. And they're like, it's not even fall yet. I wanted to come before fall.
Well, I don't know. I've never met one of those people. No, I really don't know.
Yeah.
So
One day.
one day. All right. My next revelation is the finale of Haunted Mansion is a mausoleum. Do you know what a mausoleum is? So it's like an above ground grave where they can put multiple coffins.
Mm-hmm.
So in the room where you're leaving the graveyard, it's the big finale. Or I'm sorry, you're leaving the graveyard and then you go to the hitchhiking ghosts, and then what you enter when little Leota is saying, "Hurry back," you're in a mausoleum, which is very interesting because it's almost like all the ghosts that you just saw in the graveyard have all kind of been tucked away into where their resting places.
Yeah.
And and I don't know if I'm going too deep into my thoughts on this, but there are fan theories that say that when you are in the Haunted Mansion, you actually die and you become that 1000th ghost. And that's when you start seeing all the apparitions, and then you're in the graveyard and you see all these ghosts coming to life and all of the things that they do in the afterlife. But then maybe you coming into the mausoleum and having it just be all of the mausoleum walls, you actually come out of death and back into life. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy if it's true.
But I never really believed that theory. Not that it has to be believed or anything, but I never really kind of got on board with that's actually what the story is. Mm-hmm. But now that I know that there's a mausoleum at the very end of the ride, I can see it.
Interesting.
And it has me looking at the Haunted Mansion in a totally different way.
Yeah. What about with the coming back to life? Is there a point where you feel like your spirit has like gone into the afterlife? Like where it's like, okay, this is the change, or is it just like as the ride starts, you're automatically into that?
So with the theory goes that when you actually enter the graveyard, you're coming from an attic. And you know that part where you, I don't know if you recall, but you're coming out of the attic scene and your doom buggy tilts back so that you're all the way on your back, like you kind of lean back into the doom buggy. They're saying that you actually fall from the attic and that's how you die. Mm. And that's when you enter the graveyard. It's very detailed.
Yeah,
and that's when
crazy.
you enter the graveyard and you do see ghosts prior to that, but to wrap into the theory, that's what they say actually happens is you fall from the attic and you die.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
Yeah, that is quite the storyline.
Yes. And I told my brother, Matthew, this is a mausoleum. He's like, never really noticed. But then he just moved on. But I obviously have not moved on.
Yeah. This has affected your life.
Yes. So much so that I had to talk about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something I noticed about the Haunted Mansion. On to another classic Magic Kingdom attraction, the Country Bear Jamboree. So the Country Bears, I feel like even with Disney people, there is such a love-hate relationship. Some people really think it just needs to be retired because it's a classic. I mean, it's a classic attraction, but with that comes classic technology. So it almost isn't the most updated. So aside from all of that, I have realized that when you see Country Bears with a certain type of crowd, Country Bears can be super fun again. Because when we were there, the group that was behind us, it was a fairly large group. They were hooting and hollering. They were singing along just like me and my brother were to all the songs. And when Big Al came on, which is There Was Blood on the Saddle. So that's the Big Al song. Everybody was super excited. Like everybody was like just so into it. And that really like spawned me to be like, wow, this is so much fun. We can all sing along to these classic songs. Because otherwise, what the counterpart to that type of experience would be light
silence.
Silence, light applause.
Yeah.
Like one of those applauses that you're really not sure, do I clap? Do I not? They're animatronics.
Yeah.
So I feel like the experience of Country Bears is all about who you see it with, like as fellow groups that are in the crowd. And what I was thinking was that we could be that group. We could be that group that puts the energy back into the show, and we're like clapping along and woo with the end of every song. And when Trixie comes on and sings about her love and her wine, we could be there supporting her, and everybody else would feel that energy.
So you're saying it's the role of the Disney fan to take the responsibility to ensure that everyone is having a good experience by cheering and singing along.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for summing that up because I feel
PSA.
like I was going out on some sort of branch with that. I was way out on that limb.
So that's a call to action
That is a call to action. True.
to every Disney fan. If you're going to go watch that, make it better for everyone else.
Yes.
By cheering along and singing the songs.
Yes, exactly. Because otherwise you'll be sitting in a air-conditioned, cold room and you're just going to take a nap.
Well, I'll follow your lead in clapping. I don't know the songs, but in clapping and cheering, I will follow your lead next time we go.
Awesome.
I will not fall asleep.
Well, at least you're making a point of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so next revelation. We're going to go to Hollywood Studios. And this will be my last revelation because we're running a little bit short on time. Let's go to Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular. So do you recall Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular?
Yes.
Okay. So in the show, they cast extras before they get the show started. So they have like already audience participation. And oh, by the way, this is a spoiler. So if you haven't seen Indiana Jones, even though it's been around since like the dawn of time,
Turn off the podcast.
turn off the podcast. So when they're casting their extras, they cast who I'm going to call that guy. So the guy that's wearing the bright Hawaiian shirt, and he's actually a real Disney cast member who's a stunt person but he just pretends to be like an extra and does some spectacular tumbling once they reveal that, oh, he's actually working for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So,
remember that.
okay, good. Great. Oh my gosh. Great. So, for the longest time, as long as I can remember, this extra has always had a bright Hawaiian shirt and he's always standing in the back. He no longer has a bright Hawaiian shirt. The person who is cast as like who's actually works for Disney and is cast as an extra, he was wearing, and when they're asking him his name, it's like, oh, I don't know, Michael, but then he says, he literally could be just anybody visiting the park, and I literally, it threw me for such a loop because I'm like, wait a second, is it him? Like who?
You weren't sure who the special dude was.
You know.
So it got you.
It got me. And it got my brother too. We were both like looking at each other like, wait, what? So we have decided to eliminate what the description of this person was so that everybody else can be surprised, because I totally did not even realize. And I was really pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's cool.
yeah.
Now I'm the only one that will know ahead of time. But what's crazy to think about? I wonder if that particular organization sponsored it.
Maybe like that brand of
I hope
thing.
so, because if they did, that's such
Brilliant.
a brilliant move. And I just feel like it's such like it's so specific, and look at the timing, like of what's about to happen.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
true. Oh my gosh. Oh
It's
my gosh.
interesting.
Well, if you want to know what the secrets or what the cast member is actually wearing when we saw it, so that you can be on the inside, message me on any social media platform, email us. You can know this inside, the scoop.
Inside scoop.
Yes.
Exclusive.
Exclusive.
Okay.
All right. So those are just some revelations that I saw that I had to talk to you about on my last trip. And it was a fun trip, I will say.
Yeah.
Rained every day. But just at the right time, like just before like the sun really started beating down in the afternoon. So it actually cooled off quite a bit. And I didn't even use that much sunscreen.
Nice.
Or I didn't need to
Yeah.
as much as I would.
Okay.
But I did get burned washing my car last week.
Okay. No one needs to know about that.
All right. So that's all I got.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Make sure to follow and connect with us on any of your favorite social media platforms. Add us on your Alexa flash briefing, The Walt Daily, and check out our website, thewaltdaily.com. See what we got going on there.
Yeah, as always, let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to hear. If there's any topics that you want us to talk about, please let us know. And as always, we hope you have a very magical day. Goodbye.